Those words of comfort there from Isaiah really probably made a big difference in those people's lives back in that time. A big difference, for they had no other way of communicating with one another except through the prophets. It wasn't allowed in any way for them to gather together. So that was really something nice. I'm going to turn off my phone here real quickly so it doesn't ring in the middle of anything. And while I'm doing that, I wanted to mention uh, to everyone who is here now how much I enjoyed, and I'm sure that the rest of you did, the talk that Jody gave and the meditation that Zach did last week. I thought it was just super sensational. And I've thought about it all week. And I thought, well, I'm going to carry forth from that and use it as a springboard for today's talk. Because I think it's important for us to realize there is more for us to do than simply sit back and imagine. Something more. It's just an added step. Every one of these are stepping stones across this great bridge that we call life. The next piece of that, and once you have imagined something, is to bring it forth into reality somehow. And how do we do that? Well, we're taught by our way shower, Jesus, the Christed one, that the way to do this is through belief. We do it through belief. And the people asked him at the time, stated by the Bible, of show us how to believe. And he was saying to them a parable. And the parable was about a man who built his house on solid stone, and another man who built his house on sand. Now, digging out the foundation for the sand was easy, much easier than it was for the man who had to hew his way through the stone in order to establish a foundation for his home. But the difference was very much like the story of the three little pigs. The huffing and the puffing of the wind and the storms raged and so forth. And the man whose house was built on sand fell. But the one who had his home built on a strong, solid rock foundation, his house withstood the storms. This applies not only to building a house, but building a house metaphorically as well. To build that house requires, first of all, that we imagine what our home is going to look like. We imagine that and we see it with all its rooms. We see it with its roof. We see the color of the house on the outside. We decorate in our minds first the inside of the house. We get everything arranged just right. We set it up, and we've got solar on the roof, and we're just all so happy about this house. And then if we simply walk away from it and say, oh, of course, that's just my dream, that'll never happen. Then we have built our house on sand, and it falls because every little thing that comes to us, a worry of any kind, a distraction of any kind, forces us into a situation where we give up. We no longer hold on to what we've imagined, and we let it go. And it falls. But the one that holds in his imagination or her imagination all the way through is the one who prevails. Now, things will come along. There will be times when we are short on funds. There will be times when our health isn't working the way we want it to. There will be times when arguments arise, whether it's somebody cutting us off on traffic, or we've got our blinker on and we're getting ready to turn into a place, in a parking place. And I've had this happen, haven't you? Have somebody not notice or not care, and what do I do in those circumstances? When somebody just zips into that parking place, or somebody is driving down the road and we're all trying to be very careful, then a motorcycle comes by us like we're tied to a stump. That's how fast he's going. And that's a Southern phrase for, it was like I wasn't moving at all. And startles me. for a moment. And then my thought wants to turn on this person and think about how silly they are or how dangerous it is for them, instead of staying in that calm, peaceful place, this home that I've created in my soul and in my mind, and say, oh, bless you. I want to bless you so that nothing bad happens to you. And I see you as a child of God, and I feel for you, and I have comfort for you, and I don't want to see you in any sort of danger. When I do this, then I have returned to the foundation of who I am. Now, after Jesus finishes this parable, and after all of this is said and done, the people ask him how to pray, and he gives them what we call the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is a way of us to visualize for ourselves and to verbalize for ourselves something that's very important, and that is pure belief. Jesus goes on to tell the people, if you have faith as strong as a grain of mustard seed, then all things will work out for the good for you. You can say to a mountain, be cast into the sea, and it will be so, if you have faith and do not waver in your belief. Now, I spent some time living in the Hawaiian Islands, and one thing I learned very strongly there, which fit right into my newfound unity beliefs, was the idea that they have called ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono means burying the seed. That's how it's translated. Or another way to say it is plant the seed. Drop the seed, cover it up. Now let's dwell on that for a moment. This is the idea of faith. What they say in Ho'oponopono is they say, if you have an idea that you have imagined, keep it secret. Don't tell anyone. Bury it and let it begin to grow. As it begins to grow, it will come forth in your belief system into the manifest world. Well, that fits right in with unity, because in unity, we hold the idea of thoughts plus feelings bring about manifestation. Or as we used to say in the Unity School when I was there, T and F equal M. Thoughts plus feelings equal manifestation. Once again, this ties directly into the idea of belief and faith. Now in Hebrews, I want to say, well, what is faith? In Hebrews 11:1, I like that, Hebrews 1:1. Verses 1 through 3, it states this. Now, it says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, and which bring forth the evidence of things not seen. What a weird phrase that is. The substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen equals faith. What does that really mean? Well, let's take the word substance. That's the first word in there. We know what things hoped for mean. That's where we start in our imagination, picturing those things which we want in our life. That's what's hoped for. What does the substance mean? Well, let's just break down the word substance. Sub means beneath. Stance means stand. Another way that we can say it is understand. Understand things hoped for. Understand that these things that we hope for, this substance, this creation, has already happened in the inner, and we believe strongly that it will happen in the outer. That's the evidence of things not seen. We all know what evidence is. That's proof. Proof of things not seen. the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. Well, it hasn't happened in the outer yet, but I've got proof within me. I've got that which I understand to be true in the inner. Ho'oponopono, planting the seed. Now let's look at the seed for a moment. Let's go backwards and look at the seed. Any seed belief that we have carries within it, as all seeds do, all the aspects necessary, even though they don't look like anything, all the things that are necessary. Jesus used the example of it states that he used the example of a seed of corn, that the stalk grows and there's 100-fold of these seeds which can produce. Of course, we know he didn't really use the idea of a seed of corn. More likely it was a seed of barley or a seed of wheat, because they didn't have corn in that area of the country back in those days. That's something that came from this world, this side of the hemisphere. Although, and I'm going a little bit far out here, but there is belief that the two continents did communicate with one another, and that's a different story altogether, and I won't digress into that. But the idea is that all the necessary elements for it to rise forth are in that seed. Let's take another seed. Let's take an acorn. Does an acorn look like an oak tree? Not on the outer, it doesn't. But held within it is everything, the blueprint of a great grand oak tree. And given time for it to nurture, without anybody saying, oh no, that'll never be anything. That's just a silly looking little acorn. You plant it in the ground and a squirrel will come and dig it up. Don't waste your time. Those are the reasons that you don't tell anyone what your belief is, what your idea is. You keep it to yourself until you start seeing it manifest in the outer. Every one of you have some story, if you want to tell it, of that very thing happening in your life. And I want to open it up now for you to tell each of us some story of something that you started as an idea, started as in your imagination, started as an idea that you held on to, and it came forth in your life. So I'm opening it up now for anybody who would like to share with us your idea of how this has worked out in your life. What? Nobody's had that happen in your life? Somebody speak. Yeah, Gloria.
Well, I worked for Fairfax County Public Schools as an occupational therapist for several years. And my little seed was that I wanted someday to have my own private practice to work with special students. So I planted that seed, and I wasn't sure that it was going to come true because I got a divorce, and I thought, well, gee, starting a business by myself without the security of an income from a partner or my husband seemed a little more like, wow, this seed isn't going to go anywhere. However, it did. I went and applied for a small business loan way back when in 1985 or 6. And they were giving loans to people like me. And I was able to open a private practice and bought an office space and had my practice for several years. So that little seed did grow.
Thanks. That's what I'm talking about. Anyone else? Neil.
I don't want to give the negative, but exactly what you were saying. I've had a lot of ideas, and the more I share them with people, the more the universe just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that. You're not gonna do that." So I was looking for a picture to show you guys. It's a person showing a mustard seed. So I have a mustard seed, and I'm not afraid to use it. And I'll just add real quick about the parking
Like a
thing.
threat.
Yeah, when you said, you wish them well, we were about to pull into a spot. I was coming this way, right into the spot. Somebody blocked me, backed in front of me, and pulled into the spot. So I looked at him and he looked at me, and we both smiled at each other. I said, I was laughing. I said, congratulations, you got it. And I just drove on. But it was a nice spot right in front of the store. And he knew he got it. I said, hey, have a nice day. So, there's two ways to look at how, you react to something. And
Mhm.
blessing somebody, even when they're doing things that they saw me with my indicator, and he still backed up real quick. He wanted to get the spot. He saw me while he was doing all that, but I got another spot just as nice, even closer.
That's right. He had been imagining that spot, Neil.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The Boy Scouts of America actually train you how to do this. This is basically what an Eagle project should be. Some people don't take it as far as actually manifesting a dream, but I did. I basically enjoy audiobooks as my form of reading. So I one time came upon this I want to call it the Main Street Child Development Center. And I decided to have many of my friends, many fellow scouts, and many other people record these children's books onto audio tapes and give them to this child development center for low income families.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know what happened to all those tapes because I'm not sure the center is there anymore, but I think it meant something to the people when they.
Yeah, back in those days, that's what people listened to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it worked out much grander than I think you even.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to do this. So I know you've been thinking about it for a while. But there were so many different languages spoken there. So he just put the word out to people. And that he needed Farsi, and he needed Spanish, and he needed Hindi, what else? I don't know what else,
Yeah.
Korean, whatever. And people responded.
I think I remembered all.
I think I remembered all of them.
Yeah.
And recorded these books and donated the book. We went everywhere we went. We took a tape recorder. And
my funniest memory associated with that is when they have those old audio books that say, when you hear this sound, turn the page.
Yeah.
And it's always a calming sound.
Like ding.
Ding. Well, somebody in there was reading a book, and he said, when you hear this sound, turn the page. And the sound was his brother making all the noise in the world with his pots and his pans.
Getting pots and pans with spoons and stuff.
It's like how you slept to sleep through.
Yeah. But anyway, that was something I know he was thinking about for a long time. I had forgotten that was something, and it blossomed much bigger than we thought it would. So.
Great story. And a great thing. Thank you for doing that, Zach. That's wonderful. Anyone else want to share?
No. The only thing I can think of is that I had thought maybe when I was in my maybe 50s that I would really like to teach and share some things with kids that, in a way I thought they weren't getting the opportunity to hear. And I was kind of modeling this idea off of a woman that I knew that brought kids into her home, kind of like salon-like, and they read together and talked about stuff. And I thought about it. I had classes planned in my mind and everything. And one day a friend of mine said, "Hey, we just got some space in a Korean school that's only opened at night and weekends. So the kids come there after school and on the weekends, but it sits vacant during the day. And we'd like to offer some classes in there. Would you like to come teach?" And I already had this idea in my mind of at least one class already worked out. So, and then I spent about 18 years with them teaching. So that was good.
Because of a thought held in your mind,
Mhm.
produced. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really true. It's really
One
true.
quick story, real quick. Divine Order. When somebody gave that to me, they said it works 100% of the time, but you have to take a deep breath in and release what you're anxious about or what you're trying to get. And oh, by the way, when you say divine order or you teach someone else to do that, don't tell them to share it with anyone until they've proven that it works 3 times, not 1 time, not 2 times, but 3 times. Then you're permitted to share the whole idea. And when you think it's not working, the universe is still working behind the scenes, so don't worry about it. It's 100% proof. So that's the idea, not to share. In goal setting, Leon might say something about this. They teach you going up. If you want to achieve something, don't share it with anybody. If you want to give up a bad habit or whether share it with a couple of people that you know will help you and remind you, but only, your inner friends that really care about you. So if Leon wants to say anything about that, management classes that he's taken, he's welcome to.
Anyone else? Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going. I'm
Yeah.
not going to share management classes or anything, but I will say that it's difficult for me to pinpoint a particular mustard seed because my life is kind of like Johnny Appleseed. There's been little seeds sprinkled all the way through. From being, being a college graduate, which in my neighborhood, that was a little bit unusual. And, getting a decent paying job, retiring early, who knew? And, it's just one little seed after the other, nothing that, not as good as Gloria's or, some other folks, but still, for me, a pretty good deal. So there you go.
Thank you, Leon. That's true, and oftentimes we don't know we're spreading the seeds, like Johnny Appleseed. He was aware of what he was doing, but he didn't know what the outcome was going to be. He just put it out there and let it go, and wham, seeds everywhere, apple trees everywhere. Okay, I'm going to go back to where I was talking. That's part of what I wanted to talk about. So we all know that anything that we aspire to have come forth in life starts first with an idea created in our imagination. It's like much of what you first learn in A Course in Miracles. I remember the first time I heard this statement, I thought, what the heck? And that is, there's a statement in the first chapter that says, a chair is not a chair. I thought, what? A chair is not a chair? Of course it's a chair. A chair is a chair in the outer, but it started with an idea in the inner. Somebody had an idea for a chair. Somebody took that idea and brought it forth into the manifest world. And when people saw it, they said, "What is that?" And he went over and sat down on it and said, "It's a chair." Then it became a chair when it was given a name. That's the idea behind that whole statement. Once you have seen something manifest and name it, then it is what it is required to be. It starts first in our minds. Everything starts first in the mind. That's what Jesus was telling us when he was saying you can tell a mountain be cast into the sea. It starts first with a strong imaginary idea. That imaginary idea then is mothered, it is nurtured within our minds until it finally comes to be in the outer. That requires that we allow it to grow and mature in its idea form in the universe, and then it is brought forth into the outer. First, as an idea. First, in the imagination. Secondly, it comes forth because we hang on to the belief, hang on to it, hang on to it. Once we have done this, it finally comes into this, what we call the reality of the world, of the manifest. The question is, as my first Unity teacher taught me long ago, is that's all well and good. The question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to act on that idea? How is it going to come forth in your life? It's going to require some steps, and these steps are shown to us through our thoughts and our feeling nature, married together, and then in the outer they come to be. Thoughts plus feelings. If your feelings are fearful, you'll bring forth a fearful manifestation. If your thoughts are confident, you will bring forth a confident manifestation into the world. If you get out and have an argument with a person because they pulled into that parking place, like Neil's talking about, you will bring forth a manifestation that will cause even more problems than were originally there. If you smile and shrug and keep on moving and say, well, that just wasn't mine to have and do, I guess. That guy needed it more than I do. I don't know the complete story. All I know is there's other places. And move on. Then you create and manifest into the world more goodness, more peace, more understanding, and more smiles. So think about that this week and in all the things that have happened in your life and are happening in your life. Remember what Jody was saying about imagination. Remember to hold on to these images that we create in our minds. Anchor them on a solid foundation. Anchor them as the substance of things hoped for, and bring them forth as the evidence or the proof of things that just aren't seen yet, and allow yet to be the magic word that releases them into the world. You've got a job here, every one of you. Every one of you and every one of us in this world. We've got a job to do. We've got a job to bring peace into this world. We've got a job to bring a distribution of manifest goods into this world so that no one is ill and no one is starving. This is an important thing. Peace, true peace, will be brought into this world when we finally quit imagining that things are that important that we must hoard them. Bring them forth into the world and share them. That's where I want to stop for today, is to ask you, what is yours to do? Ask yourself that question. Well, what is mine to do? First imagine, then believe, and then manifest. The manifestation comes through the action. God bless everyone. Have a good weekend. And I don't want to leave before I say this to each one of you. If you have been in service in this country, we thank you and remember tomorrow for you and all of your fellow, and we say fellow, but and lady, I don't know what the next word is, fellow compatriots. I don't know how we say that. How do we say that? We say fellowship. Isn't that kind of leaving out an entire gender? No? Okay, good. Good. Thanks for remembering that. God bless every one of you. Have a good day tomorrow.